They could have up to 3 smoke breaks for a whole shift. Shouting children, misbehaving children, running around children. She was like this, like literally her reaction was like, this waitress, dear, she's not correct. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is April and you're welcome back to my YouTube channel if you are returning, and thank you so much for returning. If you're new here, check out the videos on my channel page, and also don't forget to look through my playlists to see the particular kind of videos that you are interested in, because I cover videos on 3 topics, that is education, insight and entertainment. Today's video is sort of like entertainment, sort of like insight. It's a story time, so I'm going to be talking about my experience as a waitress in Russia. And actually this video was requested, so I made a video on my customer service experiences in Ghana. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go and watch that video. You'll see the link to it here or here, and also in the description box below. So when you are done watching this video, you can watch that video too. And in that video, I just made mention of how I actually worked as a waitress in Russia for some time. So today I'm going to be talking about that. There were quite a number of experiences that I had. So I actually got the opportunity to work as a waitress either after my first year in university or the year before that. So after I finished senior high school, then during that break before university started. So I can't really remember at which particular time this was, but I mean it was a couple of years ago. So my Ukrainian side of the family lives in Russia, and that's also the town that I was born in. It's called Yalta. If you haven't watched my Getting to Know Me video, you should watch that video as well, because I talk about where I was born, right? So it's actually a resort town, meaning it has a lot of restaurants, a lot of tourists come there during the summer. So it's a peak place during the summer. So basically, I was just, hanging out. I mean, it's summer, right? I'm someone who likes going out. And one of my middle school friends, like I went to school with her in that same town in Yalta. We went out one day and we went to this restaurant. It was a new restaurant and it was a French restaurant, okay? So we were just there, and I was telling her about how I want to work. Like I told her that I want to be a waitress. And then, we just looked around and we realized that this was a new restaurant and it seemed like they might be in need of staff. So it's not like it was advertised, oh, they need help or anything like that. Not at all. But it just occurred to me that I can just ask. Like, I'm already at the restaurant. I like the place. So I could just ask, right? We were served by a waitress. So I asked the waitress, like, if I want to work here, what do I have to do? And she was like, oh, okay, like, cool, no problem. She's going to speak to the manager. And then the manager and I can talk. So she set that up for us and I was scheduled for an interview. So I meet this manager and, it was sort of like a brief interview. He asked me, basic questions like, have I ever served before? Like, have I ever worked as a waitress? Have I ever worked in a restaurant before? I told him no, this was actually my first time. He asked me why I was interested. He sort of asked me questions also about customer service, like what would I do if a customer asks this or says this, stuff like that. What really boosted me was the fact that I can speak English. And English is an asset in Ukraine and in Russia and all of those Slavic countries. So if you can speak English and of course speak Russian, you are like an asset. Like they love people like that. So when he found out that I could speak English fluently, he was like, oh wow, like this is, this is great. So I was hired. Before I could officially start working, I had to pass a test. So the test was a menu test. Like I said, this was a French restaurant. And also, luckily for me, I know basic French. I can pronounce French words. I can read in French. I studied French like almost the whole of my life, just that I'm not fluent in it. But I do have, French speaking skills. And that was also another boost for me. I had to pass this menu test, right? Basically, what the menu test consisted of was they gave me 1 week. It was sort of like my trial week. So I was already working, but then that week is a non-paid week. So during that week, I was supposed to learn the menu. That is, I was supposed to know everything that was on the menu. I was supposed to know how each of the dishes was prepared. So not like actually physically how they were prepared, but I was supposed to know like which dishes contain spices, which dishes contain allergens, how was this meat, you know, cooked, like medium rare and all of those, you know, levels of cooking of meat. The manager and the chefs were the ones who tested me. They basically, you know, acted as customers, and then they were asking me, you know, what is this meal? How is it prepared? Also, they did these sorts of tests, like they appeared as a customer and then they would tell me things like, I am on a dairy-free diet. Like, what desserts can you recommend? So I want something that is dairy-free. I'm on a diet, you know, like stuff like that. And I passed that test, thank goodness, right? And then I officially started work and I was paid bi-weekly. So that is every 2 weeks I was going to be paid. And also under our contract, it was just an oral contract. I didn't sign any written contract, but under our oral contract, if I worked overtime, I got paid for overtime. And if also I was the only staff working during a peak time, which was usually during the weekends, in the evenings, when there are basically a lot of people, then I would be paid extra. So something like a bonus. I was working with 3 other waiters. One was a gentleman, so there was only 1 male waiter and then 2 other females. So we were 3 girls and 1 boy. And guys, the issues started happening when it came to the separation or the division of tips. Now, let me just make this clear. Russia, or at least Yalta, that's Crimea where I was working, where I'm from, there is no tipping culture. So people tip if they like your service, you know, people tip if they feel like it. So it's not compulsory to tip. But during the summer, people like to tip, right? Like I said, a lot of tourists go to this restaurant, so people like to tip. And we had this issue with tips. So particularly the male waiter, the guy, is like he always had a problem with tips. I don't know if he was greedy or what. Like, I remember I was like, what's wrong with this guy? He was saying that what we should do is we should all put the tips in one place. So like during the day, we should collect the tips and put them in one place. And then at the end of the day, we'll split the tips amongst the 4 of us. And when I heard this, I was like, why? Like, why can't I just take my tip? If this is my customer, if this is the person who I served, why can't I just take my tip and go? I remember us 3, the girls, right? We were gossiping. I know that this is not cool, right? But like, let me just be honest with you. Like, we were talking about this guy and the girls are like, they don't understand. Like, before I came, they were also having issues with tips, okay? And they kind of fought with this guy about the tips. And that is why now he's saying that, oh, we should all take the tips and put them in one place and split them. So anyway, this whole tip issue, we started doing as he said we should do. And then, of course, this created problems because one of the girls, she served more people than we did on one particular day. And she was just like, she's not okay with splitting the tips when she served more people than the rest of us that day. And another problem that we also had was who was serving whom. So usually in a restaurant, every waiter has like their tables, right? So let's say I have like 3 tables and I know the particular tables. At least that's how it was supposed to be originally. So I had 3 tables. Everybody who goes to my tables, I serve them, I take my tips and I go. Then another waiter also has like 3 tables and another waiter also has 3 tables. So it depends on how many tables there are in the place, in the restaurant, and then the number of people working in the shift. Now, this guy, this male waiter also came to say that, oh, we shouldn't separate it by table because sometimes when a customer comes, one of us, like if let's say a customer comes to my table, I'm not around. Now, I could not be around for a number of reasons. I could be having lunch. So if I'm having lunch, someone is supposed to cover my table and then that person gets the tip. That's how it's supposed to be, okay? That's how it's supposed to be. But he was saying that, oh, it causes problems. And the biggest reason why this was causing problems was because of smoking. Let me explain. The thing is that out of all the 4 waiters, I was the only one who didn't smoke, okay? Now, smoking requires smoke breaks. So during your work, right, you have to take smoke breaks to go and smoke at the back of the restaurant. You can't smoke in the restaurant. You can't smoke on the job. So you have to like take a break. And smoke break is different from lunch break. Do you feel me? So let's say me, because I don't smoke, if I'm not serving a customer, it means I'm having lunch or there is an emergency, right? The other waiters, if they can't serve someone, it means they're having lunch, or they are going on a smoke break. Now, keep in mind, they could have up to 3 smoke breaks for a whole shift. And smoke breaks could be like up to 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, a customer could have come and ordered, do you feel me? So that created like issues, because sometimes 2 of them will go on smoke breaks and then only 2 of us will be left in the hall. Sometimes the 3 of them will go on a smoke break. I'm the only one who is left. And so I would be covering like a lot of people. Basically, it was causing issues. His solution was that the first person who approaches a customer should be the one who will serve the customer throughout and should be the one who will take the tip. Now guys, the issue with this is that when a customer comes in, it's like all the waiters are rushing to that customer. And first of all, it looks sloppy. Secondly, it looks greedy. And thirdly, we could be bullied. So one of the waitresses, right, she was quite meek and feeble and shy, so she was kind of bullied by the guy and by the rest of us, because I'm quite authoritative. So like if a customer comes in, trust me, I will find my way and get to that customer. But this other waitress, she was so shy and feeble, like she wouldn't like fight you for a customer, do you feel me? So what was happening was that she was always left out. It's like whenever customers come, the 3 of us, the other waiters, we would be able to go and approach them, but she would never be able to get a customer. So if in one day I was able to get like 5 customers, she would get like 1. Obviously, this was not fair. So I said, you know what, let's just keep it to the original. That's everybody has their own table. Honestly, the girls agreed with me because it was better. The shy girl could always go to the table that was hers. She didn't have to fight anybody or, you know, feel anxious or something that someone was going to take her customer or anything, because she knew that this was her table. So fine, that's just one of the difficulties that I experienced. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that a lot of people underestimate the job of a waitress. You have to be on your feet the whole day. It's honestly not easy. Carrying heavy trays of food and drinks is not easy. Dealing with different kinds of customers, I'll get to that in a bit, but dealing with different kinds of people is just not easy. Being the communicator between the chef, the manager, the customer is just not easy. Like there were a lot of moments where I just felt so tired and so exhausted from dealing with these, you know, daily affairs. Because when you come in the morning, sure, luckily for us, there were cleaners at the restaurant, so we didn't actually clean. All we did was clean up tables, but we didn't like mop and sweep and all that. We had to clean up tables after customers, and we had to clean the tables when we first come in the morning, early in the morning when we come to the restaurant. And then you had to make sure that all the customers were happy, satisfied. We were supposed to be friendly. We were always supposed to deal with customers with respect. It doesn't matter how the customer was talking to you or what the customer was doing. You have to smile, apologize. If it's a serious situation, then you call in the manager. So it was honestly a lot of work. And in this particular restaurant, we, the waiters, also had to do the work of hostesses, especially as the girls. Now, being a hostess is a bit different from being a waiter. If you don't know, a hostess is someone who usually attracts people into a restaurant, and usually a hostess also shows you where you can sit or where you should sit depending on the restaurant. So usually you would see hostesses standing outside the restaurant, maybe with a menu, but a lot of the time they are not even with a menu. They're just standing and then they are like, hello, good afternoon, you know, would you like to come in? We have coffee, you know, would you like lunch, you know, stuff like that. And then they would hand you over to a waiter or a waitress, or they would lead you to a seat where you go sit down, and then the waiter would come and take your order. But in this particular restaurant, like I said, they were already kind of short-staffed, so they used us waiters as hostesses. Now, coming to dealing with people, this, I think, is the most difficult aspect of working in customer service, because you have different kinds of people coming in. Some people come with children. Now, dealing with children is a whole other ball game. They can damage things in the restaurant. They can behave in such a manner that it would sort of affect other customers. And even though it's not your fault, like you're the waiter's fault, it's affecting other customers in the restaurant. So it's like sometimes other customers would be expecting you, the waiter, to do something about it. shouting children, misbehaving children, running around children, like all kinds of things. So I'll give two instances. One where I actually really messed up, and one where the customer was being very unreasonable. So where I messed up, of course, try to understand me. I had never done this work before. This was my first time. It wasn't my first day, but it was my first time as a waitress. So I wasn't the most skilled of personnel. And these two women come and they order quite a lot of food, okay? They ordered like soup, then they ordered the main meal, then they ordered the desserts and all that. And one of them was eaten in such a way that when she finished her main meal, she didn't fully finish it. So she left some on the plate and she asked me not to take it away. She said, oh, she'll finish it. But in the meantime, I should bring her a dessert, which was ice cream, okay? So I brought her the ice cream and she still had the main meal there and she started eating the ice cream. This lady didn't finish eating the ice cream and she didn't finish fully eating the main meal. Now the main meal was kind of like it was some kind of French dish, but I don't remember the exact name, but it was mashed potato something with some sauce. So it was quite liquidy. It wasn't like solid. It wasn't really solid. And then the ice cream had already kind of melted. Like it was just a bit of the ice cream left. It was in this kind of sort of like cup thingy, so it was rounded with a spoon inside. So she didn't finish either of them, and then she told me like, oh, she's done, I can take it away. I was taking the plates with the main meal, that's the mashed potato puree sort of thing, and as I was taking it, I was holding the tray in one hand, and as I was taking this plate with the main meal, the spoon, which was a humongous spoon. Now guys, we have different kinds of spoons, okay? Some of the spoons, they are really big. So this humongous spoon just drops onto the table, not just onto the table, it drops into the ice cream cup and it splashes so hard that a lot of the ice cream just went across this customer's chest. And she was wearing a beautiful, I don't know if it's designer or what, but it's clear that the woman had money. It was this beautiful silk blouse, and the ice cream, which by the way was chocolate, I think it was chocolate and pistachio or something like that, so it was a mix of colors. It just plaited across her blouse, and her blouse was like a beige color, sort of like nude beige, that kind of thing. She was like this, like literally her reaction was like and I was just like, oh my god, what am I going to do? Like am I going to be punished financially for this? Like, will they take away from my pay, or what's going to happen? So I reacted quite quickly, you know. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And then I put like the tray on another table, on the next table, which was free, and then I took a tissue and guys, I tried to clean it off. But of course, when you do that, you only make the stain worse, because the tissue that I was using was a dry tissue that I picked up from the table. It wasn't a wet wipe, it wasn't a wetted tissue, it was dry. So when I was trying to clean it off, I just made the situation worse. She got very angry. Now, like I said, there are different kinds of people. I'm not someone who overreacts, but then again, it also depends on the event, you know, where I'm going after this happens and all that. So I don't know, maybe they plan to go somewhere else. I don't know like what was going on with their plan. She didn't insult me or anything, but I could see from like the look on her face, and you know, she pulled up this, what's it called, like a makeup mirror, and she was like looking at herself and she was like rolling her eyes and stuff like that. And I was apologizing like severely, like I was like, I'm so sorry, like I removed all the dishes from the table, I apologized, everything. I was even too scared to go and give them the bill, like for them to pay, because everything was just, you know, some way. And she was also looking at her friend, like they were exchanging looks like, this waitress, dear, she's not correct. I admit that that was my fault, totally. But I mean, in the end, everything was okay. Thankfully, she didn't ask to call the manager, nothing. She just went into the washroom and I don't know, she cleaned up a bit. When she came out, it was still wet. This part of her blouse was wet, but it wasn't like I didn't ruin her blouse totally, right? It's something that's washable, you can wash it out. So I think everything was fine in the end, like with them. I mean, they paid and all that. They didn't tip me, of course, but everything was okay. Now, another instance was with this customer. It was just one lady, and she also came. She didn't order a lot. She just ordered one meal. I don't remember whether it was a main meal or whether it was a first course, whether it was a soup or whatever. And she didn't like the food, okay? But it's like, I don't know, some customers think that it is the waiters who cook the food. I don't babble. I don't bab. Do you think that it is the waiters who actually prepare the meal? Or what? Like, I don't understand. I honestly don't understand the logic. We have chefs, cooks in the kitchen who prepare the food. We, the waiters, we have nothing to do with the preparation of the food. What we do is we serve. So we serve you drinks, we serve you food, we bring the bill, we are the bridge. We communicate to the chef, you know, if there's something wrong and all that. But this woman started shouting at me that the food is not correct and that I should go and fix the food. And I asked her what the problem was, and she said that it was undercooked. And I was like, how is that my fault if it's undercooked, if I am not the chef? So anyway, I went and I told the chef that, oh, this customer claims that the food is undercooked. I brought the food back. The particular chef who prepared that meal tried a bit, using of course another spoon and all that, and he was like, no, the meal is not undercooked. There is nothing wrong with the meal. He's confused. So I went back to her and she was like, she knows that I'm the one who ruined the food, that I should make sure that I bring her the correct thing, that we have cheated her, that's this, that's what. And I was like, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, you know what? Just speak with the manager. The manager was called. And guys, usually when the manager is called, it doesn't speak well of the waiter or the waitress because it usually means that you have fucked up. But in this particular case, after she spoke with them, manager, who is my boss technically, he just came back to tell me that the woman is not correct and that I shouldn't mind her. Like, what she was telling him obviously didn't make any sense. When he asked her what's wrong with the food, she said it's undercooked. Manager himself actually also tried the food and he said the food is fine. So anyway, she was a psycho, but no money was taken from her. You know, she didn't pay nothing. We just let her go because like we didn't want issues. So that was that. Like, that's the end of that story. But to be completely honest with you guys, that was like the worst experience I had had. I worked in that restaurant for about 2 months, and to be honest, I really had a good time. It was a lot of work, a lot of difficult work, but overall I had a good time. I was never, you know, put down in such a manner that I couldn't recover from. You know, people didn't treat me badly. I was never catcalled, or because sometimes I worked at night and we had like people drinking and stuff. I was never, you know, abused or maltreated or anything like that. I was paid also very well. At one point, I also got 2 bonuses, one for working overtime and one for good behavior. If you've ever worked in a job like this, you know, as a hairdresser, as a waitress, at a cinema, like in any customer service position, definitely tell me in the comment section down below. If you have any video requests or anything at all to say about this video or about any of my other videos, then of course tell me in the comment section down below. And besides that, we are done with today's video, but hopefully I'll see you in another video. So bye.